Thank you to all who joined day one. Uh, Today we will kick off day two of the Sundarakandam session. I will turn it over to you, Shivakumar sir.
Thank you, Sriramji. Welcome one and all, and namaskaram, and very happy journey again for the second day regarding the mighty deeds and the successful deeds and the infinite possibilities which has been depicted in Valmiki Ramayana through Hanuman's travel towards Ashokavana, meeting Sita and bringing in the union of the Jivatma and the Paramatma. Here today, there is something interesting before we start this lokas. I just wanted to bringing a small incident, rather a thought process in each one of us for every day, which really gives a lot of insight to what the human being can do in this worldly life to achieve heights and elevations, both in the Laukika and the spiritual world. See, here we have something today, the first sloka, which when we go through the slides, we'll know that the first sloka is a sloka which indicates the journey after Hanuman reaches Lanka. The moment he reaches Lanka, yesterday we saw when we left at the last sloka yesterday, and then where he sees Sita in Ashokavana and how happy he feels by the sight of his purpose and the success which he achieved, and the contentment and the bliss and happiness inside his heart, the chitta, the hridaya shuddhi, the hridaya ananda, hridayananda nilai, the hridayananda position, the hridayananda achievement of Anjaneya, which indicates the happiness and bliss and the excitement in each one of us when we achieve our goals each day. Maybe it may be a small thing of the day, maybe it may be a simple thing like making something, a dish, a food dish in the kitchen, which when it becomes so nice when you make it, you feel so happy for a lady of the house. Maybe something, an achievement in the corporate world, when you go to the office and you do some project and it is successful and you get a promotion, and how excited you are in the materialistic world. The same way, the saintly people who achieve things in the spiritual way, when they grow to the next levels of spiritualism and where they see and experience the divine and get the bliss and happiness in total. The same way, Anjaneya achieved the bliss and happiness, the Hridayananda Sthiti in him when he saw the very sight of Sita in Ashokavana once he landed to Lanka. So here we have something very important to say. The Panchendriyas in us, which receive the assimilate, they receive, they are the receptors in our body. The Panchendriyas, which incidentally each one of us knows, is the nose, the eyes, the ears, basically the ENT, and also the chitta, the twak, the skin to feel, and also the the all these five parts of the receptors in the body, which are the panchendriyas, to receive things from outside, to hear, to taste, to smell, to see, drishya, all these things. So when you see something, what happens with the indriyas? One of the indriyas, if we take the most important of them being the netra, through the eyes, when we see something, what happens? We get assimilated inside us. Whatever we see, we observe and we assimilate inside us. And once it goes inside us, then it becomes a thought process. Suppose you are seeing a building in the layman's language. When you are seeing a new building, you just have a view of that. When you see that, that picture gets inside you and you start imagining. You start imagining how aesthetic it is, how more it can be done aesthetically, what is the position of it, and where it can be placed. And you feel that you should get something like that in the common man's language, right? So once that assimilation happens, the thought process happens, the chitta takes the thought process inside. And once that thought process and the picture goes inside you, over the period, it stays inside you in the subconscious. From the conscious state, it gets into your subconscious state. And the subconscious thing keeps on being in your mind, in the back of your mind, and which again comes in your dreams, the swapna, which is very important, and the dreams come into reality over a period of time when that subconscious is again brought into a conscious effort of doing work, karma, through karma yoga, where you again reach the resultant, that is phala, As in Bhagavad Gita, it is said, Karmanyeva Adhikarasya, the subconscious, from the conscious to the subconscious, to the subconscious to again conscious, and then doing the karma and achieving the phala. The thought process. So the dreaming, how you dream, the dreams which come to reality in life, and where you are supposed to take this process, thought process, into the dream process, which depicts itself and comes out in the form of dreams in you, and the dreams which you carry forward in a reality to put it into action to get the phala. And here, why I mentioned regarding these dreams, swapna, which is known in Sanskrit, swapna shastra, and dreams which come to us many a times, each one of us gets. Every day we say we got this dream, that dream, we saw something in the dream. I don't know what is the indication of it. Swapna phala shastra in olden days, which were very important, because the dreams which you hold on to your mind depends on the reality which you put into action later. And the dreams indicate a lot of omens. That is the shakunam. They call it shakunam, dreams, nimittam, lakshanam, they say in Sanskrit, which gives you the omens and indications of the events to come forward. They cast the shadows of the events ahead, the dreams. And that is where today we are going into the slokas, which is the most important part of Sundarakanda, which is the Trijata Sopana Shastra. Trijada Sopna, the demoness Trijada, who was a guardian of Sita in the Ashokavana, who was the head of the Rakshasis who were guarding Sita, and her Swapna, the beautiful dreams which came to her through her subconscious and assimilations. And the soul, what she was, though she was a demoness by birth due to her previous karma, but the Chitta was so pure that she got such a beautiful set of dreams which came into reality down the line, casting the shadows ahead for the reality to fall in place and to make Sita very happy and guard her in the right way from the preventing the wrath of the Rakshasas on her. And though being a Rakshasi herself, she was such a pious soul and who was the guardian of Sita in Ashokavana. So here today, the chapter indicates a lot of these slokas which are taken from Trijata Swapna and the Swapna Shastra. So each one of us now can realize how the thought process in us from the conscious state to the subconscious, and again bringing it back as dreams and to reality, to karma and action, and get the phala, which really matters in the terms of achievement for a human being. That means the Hridayananda Sthiti comes once when the dreams fall into reality, and that can be only done through the deeds, that is the karma, which Anjaneya displayed by crossing the mighty ocean by doing the karma, and not just be keeping the dreams to himself. He brought the dreams into reality, the dreams of Rama, the dreams of the n number of Vanaras, the dreams of Jambavan, and each one of them. Now, starting with the Ekasloki every day, as we started the first day. So I'm starting the slokas. Before that, I go to the Ekasloki Ramayana for the entire Ramayana to be condensed. Purvam Rama Tapovanaadigamanam Hartva Mrugham Kanchanam Vaidehi Haranam Samudradharanam Sugriva Sambhashanam Bali Nigrahanam Samudradharanam Lankapuri Dahanam Paschat Ravana Kumbhakarna Hananam Etadviramayanam. Rama 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 Rama. We come to the first sloka, where, as I had mentioned regarding the happiness, the Hridayananda Sthiti of Anjaneya by seeing Sita Mata after he landed in Lanka in the Ashokavana. Evam Sitam Tatha Drishtva Hrishtaha Pavana Sambhavah Jagama Manasaramam Prashamsaschatam Prabhum. Evam Sitam Tatha Drishtva. Thus seeing Sita, Krishtaha Pavana Sambhavaha. Krishtaha, happy. Pavana Sambhavaha. Pavana is the wind. Pavana Sambhavaha, the son of wind. The Lord wind, Vayu, Anjaneya. Evam Sitam Tatha Drishtva. Seeing Sita thus, felt so happy. The Hridayananda Sthiti inside him. Jagama Manasa Ramam. Jagama, the mind. Manasa, the mind went. Where did it go? it went to Rama. Jagamara manasa Ramam prashamsaschatam prabhum. Why it went there? It went there to praise the Lord again. So once he saw Sita there, his happiness made him think of Rama there to praise him again. So Hanuman, then seeing Sita, became happy thus and went by mind to Rama and also praised that Lord. The strength of the thought waves is what is indicated here, where he saw through the netra, the panchendriya, at the same time, in seconds, the mind went to Rama to praise him, which is the chitta and the thought. So assimilation, the thought process, going into the mind and reaching out there into action to Rama to praise him. So all the three deeds were done at the single moment. So each one of us can do that in our day-to-day life, and that is what Anjaneya Swami depicts here. Evam Sita tatha drishtva Krishtah pavana sambhava jagama manasa Ramam prashamsaschatam prabhum. Here we have the first temple associated with this, where we have the Yoga Anjaneya temple in Ghatika Chala, as it is known, near to Chennai. I think most of us are aware of this temple, and many of us would have visited it also. Take the opportunity once everyone gets an opportunity to visit all these temples in different parts of the world. Here we have this beautiful temple known as Tirugadigai Yogana Anjaneer at Sholingar. Sholingar temple, we would have all known about the Narasimha temple, which is just where it is opposite a hillock to this particular temple, both two small hillocks where Anjaneya is facing Narasimha, and it is supposed to be known according to legend that Narasimha Murthy himself gave Anjaneya the Shankha Chakra here and the Japamala, and Anjaneya is in a yoga posture, in a seated posture, which is very peculiar to be seen in many parts, which is not there. It is very rare, where you have Anjaneya here seated in a yogic posture with Shankha Chakra and Japamala and the Japa Shankha in all the four hands here, as Yoga Anjaneya doing tapas in a yogic position and blessing the devotees. And this particular temple is also significant, where you have known, I think most of us know, that Vishwamitra is a sage who was a very famous sage, very significant in Ramayana time, and who was the sage who brought in Gayatri Mantra, the greatest of the mantras to the humankind. And Gayatri Mantra, an invoking of Gayatri, is supposed to have happened at this particular spot in Ghatika Chala, and so the temple becomes so famous. Ghatika meaning a time limit of 24 minutes or 24 narige or minutes or seconds, which was there, which was significant in this temple for darshan. 400 steps ahead to go in the hill to visit Anjaneya here, beautifully surrounded by greenery and a beautiful temple full of serene yogic postures and inscriptions, and Anjaneya to bless all of us. Evam Sitam Tatha Drishtva Krishtah Pavana Sambhava Jagama Manasa Ramam Prashamsaschatham Prabhum. Let us all get that Krishtaha, just like Anjaneya got in his heart the Hridaya Ananda Sthiti by visiting this temple, and also by putting all our deeds into dreams, into reality through our actions in a day-to-day basis. Rama, 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 Rama. We go to the second sloka. Incidentally, the first sloka was from the 15th Sarga and the 54th sloka. We are now going to the Sarga 27 of Sundarakanda, where we have the 9th and the 10th slokas combined together, which is put in this slide. Gajadantamayim divyam shibikam antarikshagam yuktam hamsa sahasrena स्वयमास्ताय राघवः शुक्लमाल्याम्बरधरौ लक्ष्मणेन सहागतः गजदन्तमयीं दिव्यां शिबिकामन्तरिक्षगां युक्तां हंससहस्रेण स्वयमास्ताय राघवः शुक्लमाल्याम्बरधरोः लक्ष्मणेन सह गतः. Here we start, as I had mentioned, regarding Trijada's Swapna. This is the dream of Trijada, the demoness who was the guardian of Sita, who had this dream and regarding which she has mentioned in this slokas. It is Trijada Swapna. And here Gajadanta Mayim. Gajam is elephant. Gajadanta Mayim. The Dantam is the tooth, the tusk. Gajadanta Mayim, made of ivory, the tooth of elephant. Divyam, divine. Divine Gajadanta Mayim. Divine tusk, ivory through which it is made. What is made? Shibhikam Antarikshagam. Antarikshagam is a sky. Shibhikam Antarikshagam. Yuktam Hamsa Sahasrena. Hamsa is again the swan. Sahasrena. Sahrena is what is mentioned in the slide. Actually, it is Sahrena, and when you say it together, actually it is Sahasrena, but when it's said together for the sloka's sake, it is Hamsa Sahrena, which is thousands of Hamsas who tie the Gajadanta Mayim, tie the chariot of made of ivory, Shibikant Antarikshagam, which is flowing over the skies, Shuklamalyam Bharadaro, Swayam Astaya Raghava. Raghava, Rama is seated on that. I am able to see Rama seated in such a chariot in the skies coming towards here. Shuklamalyam Bharadharau Lakshmanena Saha Agataha. Along with Lakshmana in that chariot, who have Shukla Malyam. Shukla is white and serene. The white garlands, the flowers, the white flowers and garlands. Malyam is Mala. Mala is the garland. Wearing all the white dresses, pure white dresses with all the white garlands around their neck. And then ascending the palanquin, that is a chariot made of ivory, tied with 1,000 swans, Hamsa Sahasrena, arrived along with Lakshmana. The first dream of Trijata, which is so divine, seeing a positive thought of Rama and Lakshmana ascending the Hamsayukta Gajadantamaya Divya chariot Ratha and ascending into that and passing through the skies and reaching out with Lakshmana to Sri Lanka, Lankapuri. So Gajadantamayim Divyam Shibhikamantarikshaga Yuktam Hamsa Sahasrena Swayamastaya Raghava Shuklamalyam Bharadaro Lakshmanena Sahagataha. Sahagataha, when said together, when you split the words in Sanskrit, Saha Agataha, along with him has come. Saha Agataha is coming. Right here we have the temple for this particular sloka, which is the Sri Anjaneya Veeranjaneya temple in Ambur. Ambur near again Vellore district, and which is known as the Periyanjaneya temple, and which is actually very significant. This temple is very significant with regard to the Aidihyam, the legend associated with it, and that's why we have put this slide along with this sloka here, because here we saw Trijada Swapna, where Rama and Lakshmana have ascended the chariot made of ivory and drawn by the Hamsas, the 1,000 Hamsas, and reaching out along with Lakshmana to Sri Lanka, Lankapuri, ascended in the palanquin and crossing through the skies. Here we have Veeranjaneya, Periyanjaneya temple in Ambur, where the legend goes that Ramayana Kala, when Ramayana Kala was happening, and Ramayana was going through, and at that time when Lakshmana Swami had his the unconscious state due to the Nagastra of Indrajit, and when Anjaneya had to go to collect the Sanjeevani Malai, Shanishwara, incidentally, being the 7.5 years, as we all know, Edara Shani, which happened even for, which doesn't leave anyone, which happened even for Anjaneya Swami. The time was apt And Shanishwara had come and requested Anjaneya that I have to catch you because it is Eder Shani for you. So Anjaneya readily said, yes, you can do it, and just come on my head. And when Shanishwara agreed and he started getting into his head, and when Anjaneya reached out to Sanjeevani Malai and carried the whole Malai on his head and hand, that is when Shanishwara was not able to bear the weight, and he said, okay, let me get your leg. The moment Shanishwara came to the leg, he was crushed by Anjaneya's leg, and he had to request him to leave him because he could not bear the weight of Anjaneya's strength. And that is how Anjaneya made Shanishwara, that is below his feet, and agree and to bless all the people who are devotees of Sri Ramachandra and not to affect them in any way. And from then onwards, Shanishwara had given a bone and had told Anjaneya that he will not touch anyone who is a right devotee of Sri Rama or who says the name of Sri Rama and Anjaneya, will never even cast a shadow before them. And that way, this temple is so significant and associated with the legend of Ramayana and is there from the Ramayana Kala. Vijayanagara period, it was rebuilt, and there are two idols in this idol in the temple of Ambur of Anjaneya, both 11 feet tall and beautifully seated in a very divine way. I hope everyone gets an opportunity to go and visit this temple in their lifetime. So we again quote this sloka: Gajadantamayim divyam Shibhikamantarikshaga Yuktam Hamsa Sahasrena Swayamastaya Ragavaha Shuklamalyam Bharadaro Lakshmanena Sahagataha. Rama 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 Rama. We come to the next sloka, which is the 11th sloka from again the 27th sarga, again continuing with the swapna, the dreams of Trijada, the pious demoness. Swapne chadhyamaya drishtva Sita Shuklambharavrita Sagarena Parikshiptam Shvetam Parvatamastita Swapne chadhyamaya drishta Sita Shuklambharavrita Sagarena Parikshiptam Shvetam Parvatamastita. Swapne, that is the dream. Chadhya cha adya maya drishtva. When you split it, cha adya maya drishtva. Now I saw a swapna, drishta. I saw a swapna. What swapna? Swapna, the dream, where Sita Shuklam Bhara Vrita. Sita is seen wearing all the pure white clothes in an ivory clothes or whatever you call, fully decked. And Sagarena Parikshiptam. Sagaram is the ocean. So this ocean which is surrounded, Parikshiptam, surrounded with Shvetam Parvatamastita. Parvatam is the mountain. Shvetam is white, pure white. Shvetam, Shveta Varnam. Shvetam, Shvetam Parvatamastita. Parvatam, the white mountain surrounded by an ocean, how it seems to be. And now it has been seen by me in the dream that Sita, also wearing white clothes, was sitting on a white mountain surrounded by the ocean. Imagine the, get the visual in our mind, each one of us, and you will really get the bliss in you, indicating, just imagine the white colors, the pure, serene white colors surrounding you, fully white around you, the fully white crystalline light around you, the aura around you, which gives you such a pure bliss and peace of mind. And here, imagine the Swapna of Trijada being a demoness, how beautiful and pious a Swapna she could get, which is totally contradicting her being a demoness, in fact. So here it indicates that even though the basic birth or the basic instinct in you is different, you are from a different background, but you can really develop your good qualities, whatever you are from, wherever from you are from, and you can, in fact, elevate yourselves, and it lies in your thought process and in your own deeds, and to bring it to reality. So you can do it either way, and let us take to the positive way of getting more bliss and happiness and hridaya chitta shuddhi and hridayananda sthiti. Swapne chadhyamaya drishta Sita Shuklambharavrita Sagarena Parikshiptam Shvetam Parvatamastita. Let us have the temple associated with this sloka. Here we have Chengalpet Kodandarama Swami temple, where we have the Veeranjaneya associated with this particular sloka. The Chengalpet Kodandarama Swami temple having Anjaneya here also in the same way as our Ambur Kshetra, Ambur temple, where we had Shani being crushed under the feet of Anjaneya. Here, if you can see this incident also, this particular temple where the legend goes in Ramayana time, when the Setu Bandhana was happening. See, there are two incidents. Shanishwara, when Sanjeevani Malai was being taken, that time also he came, and that is where we have the Ambur temple, as the legend goes, where Anjaneya made him realize that he should not touch anyone or affect anyone chanting the name of Rama, or anyone for that matter, to create any obstacle for them in their life, and to prevent that. Shanishwara was being crushed and made him realize. That was Ambur temple. Here again we have, before that incident of Lakshmana Swami's unconscious state happened, much before that, when the Setu Bandhana was happening, and when the Vanaras were placing all the rocks for the Setu Bandhana to make the bridge, Nala Setu, and that is when Shanishwara again had Anjaneya as the Edara Shani for him, and requested that I have to catch you. And Anjaneya said, yes, you can catch me. First come to my head. And Anjaneya started placing all the rocks on his head for the Setu Bandhana. The weight of the rocks could not be borne by Shanishchara. And Shanishchara again requested him, okay, I'll come down and catch your legs, the same way as in Ambur temple. And that is when he was crushed again to the reality of understanding that he should not affect anyone who is really pure in his thought and his efforts to go ahead in his life, and which will not affect in spite of his catching, because the efforts are more stronger. That is what Anjaneya Swami depicts here, displays here in this particular temple, as the idol shows us very clearly. So Chengalpet Kodandarama Swami temple, which is very, very powerful in terms of having the Shani Dosha Nivaranam, and it is also known as the Shaniyai Adakkiya Anjaneyar, Shaniyai Adakkiya Anjaneyar in Sanskrit. So again, we have this sloka here praising the mighty Anjaneya and remembering him to give us all the presence of mind and strength and might, not only strength and might, but the presence of mind, and also to bring in reality through our dreams to achieve results. Swapne chadhyamaya drishta Sita Shuklambharavrita Sagarena Parikshiptam Shvetam Parvatamastita. Rama 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 Rama. We go to the next sloka, which is incidentally the 12th sloka from the same sarga, the 27th sarga of Sundarakanda. Again, the continuation of the Swapna of Trijada. Ramena Sangata Sita Bhaskarena Prabhayata Ragavascha Maya Drishtascha Tudamstram Mahagajam Ramena Sangata Sita Bhaskarena Prabhayata Ragavascha Maya Drishtascha Tudrishtam Damstram Mahagajam Ramena Sangata Sita. Sita along with Rama, Rama along with Sita, Sita came together with Rama. Like what? Bhaskarena. Bhaskara is the sun, the bright sun, like the light with the sun, like the light with the sun. Ragavascha Maya Drishtascha. Rama also was seen by Maya, by me, to be mounted to Damstram Mahagajam. Gajam is elephant. To be mounted on a great elephant with 4 tusks. Damstram is the tusk and equaling a mountain. And Rama wandered together with Lakshmana. Ramena Sanghata Sita Bhaskarena Prabhayata Ragavascha Maya Drishtascha Tudamstram Mahagajam. Rama Rama, here we have the temple associated with this particular slide and this sloka, where we have the great Namakkal Anjaneya temple, which is quite famous, and each one of us, I think many of us would have definitely visited this in our lifetime already. But of course, it takes more happiness to always keep on visiting such beautiful divine places and get showered with the blessings of Sri Anjaneya. Namakkal Anjaneya, who is in again Namakkal district of Salem and Tamil Nadu, and 18 feet tall Anjaneya, where incidentally it has to date been proved that this Anjaneya idol is growing in height, and that is why you don't have the kurai, the roof above the head of Anjaneya. Sorry, sorry, and where incidentally with this sloka, where we saw in this sloka the word damstra, to damstram mahagajam, the 4 tusks of the elephant. Like the same way, in this idol of Anjaneya, you can see the agora pallu on the sides. The agora pallu is the 2 damstras, the teeth, the canines on the sides of the Anjaneya idol, in the mouth, where it is exactly matching with this particular sloka where we have the Gaja Damstram. Why this Agora Damstram? Incidentally, everyone is aware that Anjaneya is having his palms, Anjali Varada, he is doing Namaskara to Narasimha, Lord Narasimha of Namakkal, who is directly opposite where to Anjaneya temple, and Anjaneya is supposed to be seeing him and doing the Namaskaram and taking all the Ugram of Narasimha, and Narasimha there is after Hiranyakashipu's Vadha, Ahobalam, one of the Ahobalams where Narasimha is seated there with all the Ugram, and that Ugram has been taken away by Anjaneya, and that is why this Aghorapal is there. That's what they say according to the legend. And Namakkal Anjaneya is also significant in a different way, who is having a full garland of Saligrama on his neck and also a sword on his waist, just like a Yuddha Anjaneya on the waist of him. A sword, a Swarna Val, the sword is there, 18 feet Namakkal Anjaneya. Let us take the uh, journey there to visit this temple and be showered by Anjaneya's blessings. Ramena Sangata Sita Bhaskarena Prabhayata Ragavascha Maya Drishtascha Tudamstram Mahagajam. Rama Rama Rama. We come to the next sloka, which is again the 13th sloka, the continuation from the same Sarga 27 of Trujada Swapna. Tatastau narasardhulo दीप्यमानो स्वतेजसा शुक्लमाल्यां भरधरौ जानकीं पर्युपस्थितौ ततस्तौ नरशार्धूलो दीप्यमानो स्वतेजसा शुक्लमाल्यां भरधरौ जानकीं पर्युपस्थितौ. Thereafter, tatastau, shining with their own radiance, deepyamano, radiance, deepyamano swatejasa, with their own radiance, swatejasa, narashardhula, the Purushottama, Rama and Lakshmana, Shuklamalyam Bharadharau, wearing white garlands and clothes, Shuklamalyam Bharadharau, white garlands, those two best among men, Rama and Lakshmana, Janakim Paryupastitau, near Sita. They were nearing Sri Lanka to visit Sita, to see Sita Mata. Sorry. Tatastau narashardhulo dipyamano swatejasa शुक्लमाल्यां भरधरौ जानकीं पर्युपस्थितौ. let us have the temple associated with this particular slide, the sloka. Here we have the famous Sri Ganti Veera Anjaneya Swami Temple, Devasthanam in Ganti, Andhra Pradesh. This particular temple is in the Kadapa district of Andhra Pradesh. And here is where it is very significant. Rama himself had drawn a picture of Anjaneya by one of his arrows in this particular area in a rock. And except that the little finger in the left hand had been left out, he had missed out that. And later on, the same place, the idol, the drawing was sculpted into an idol by Vyasaraja in the Madhva Parampara. And when the sculpting of this idol was done, and when the left hand little finger was also being formed, it automatically got cut, broke down, and it started bleeding, indicating the live presence of Anjaneya in this place, and also indicating that he didn't want the left finger there, which was something extra which his Lord Rama had not drawn with the arrow. So devoted was he to his master and obedient, and so devoted that total surrender to the Lord was there from Anjaneya. The Jivatma to the Paramatma, how the total surrender has to be done, has been depicted here and displayed here by Anjaneya himself. And very significant, this Anjaneya is known as the Abhaya Hasta Anjaneya. He gives the Abhaya. You can see in the idol one of the hands giving the Abhaya Mudra, Abhaya Hasta Anjaneya. And there is a very powerful, strong Punya Nadhi Tirtha, the Papagni river in this area, which is the Tirtha of this temple. And Ganti is a narrow passage. Ganti is Andhra word, the Telugu word for a narrow passage which is there in an area. And they say there is a narrow passage for this river, Papagni, to flow into the Eastern Ghat hills in this area. So Ganti, Veera Anjaneya Swami temple, let us get the blessings of Anjaneya from here. They also say that when Rama returned victorious from Lanka after the war, heading towards Ayodhya, Vayu, the father of Anjaneya, the Panchabhutas, the Vayu Deva, had created a golden feston of golden flowers in this area, and still there in this area, which can be, they say, can be seen by people who are nearing to Mukti. When they are nearing to Mukti, their way to Mukti, that such people are able to see this feston of golden flowers with their naked eyes when they visit this place. Rama, 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 Rama. We go to the next sloka. Tatastasya nagasyaagre ह्याकाशास्तस्दन्तिनः भ्रत्रा परिगृहीतस्य जानकी स्कन्धमाश्रिता ततस्तस्य नगस्याग्रे ह्यास्याकाशस्तस्य भ्रातस्य धन्तिनः ततस्तस्य नगस्याग्रे ह्याकाशास्तस्य धन्तिनः भर्त्रा परिगृहीतस्य जानकी स्कन्धमाश्रिता ततस्तस्य नखस्याग्रे. Thereafter Sita rested on the upper part of the elephant in the sky. Nagasya agre. Agre is the tip of it, the upper part of the back of the elephant in the sky. Hyakasha akashastasya. When it is spelled in a single word, it is taken as Nagasyagre hyakashastasya. Akashastasya. Akashah asya. Tatastasya nagasyagre hyakashastasya. Akashastasya dantinaha. Dantinaha, the elephant, taken by her husband, Bhartra, husband, that is Rama, to the front of that mountain. Parigrihitasya Janaki Skandhamasrita, taken to the front of that mountain. Tatastasya nakasyagre akashastasya dhantinah bhartra parigrihitasya Janaki Skandhamasrita ततस्तस्य नखस्याग्रे आकाशास्तस्य धन्तिनः भर्त्रा परिगृहीतस्य जानकी skandhamasrita. Let us have the temple associated with this slide. Here we have Karmanghat Hanuman temple, which is associated with this sloka. Karmanghat, as you have seen in this word itself, we have karma, Karmanghat Hanuman temple, which is incidentally in Telangana district, Hyderabad. And we see here the Dhyana Anjaneya Swami. He is known as the Dhyana Anjaneya. He is in a meditative pose. Hello. I hope everyone is able to hear. Is it audible?
Yeah. I think somebody had unmuted. So please carry on.
No problem. So this is known as the Dhyana Anjaneya temple here because Anjaneya can be seen in a meditative pose. Just like we had the Yoga Anjaneya in the first slide, here we have the Dhyana Anjaneya. And in Ganti, we had the Abhaya Anjaneya. So today we have a variety of postures of Anjaneya here, depicting the various yogic postures. Here we have the Dhyana Anjaneya, where Anjaneya is meditating in a very meditative way. And it is this temple where it has been a temple which has been there since the 12th century AD, 12th century, when it was built up by a hunter who passed by through that way and who was responsible for building and construction of this temple. And during Aurangzeb's time was when Aurangzeb had ordered, the Mughal kingdom, when it was there, he had ordered a complete clearance of this area. And when that clearance of this area he had to do, the troops were not able to do that, and they were hearing loud noises in this place, and they were not able to. It was so thunderous. The noise was so thunderous, and they couldn't clear the place. And Aurangzeb himself, it seems, had come there, and with a crowbar, he was trying to break down the entire thing. When he heard the sound, very clear sound, Ashariri, they say, saying that you want to mandir thodna hai, to kar man ka ghat. That is, do what you want. Mandir thodna hai, do what you want. That is what he heard, the voice. And that is where Aurangzeb himself went away, leaving the deed unfinished. Hearing the voice of the Ashariri, he went unfinished. And till date, Anjaneya is there meditating in a very calm, meditative posture, doing his meditation, and the sound of Rama mantra comes out of the temple every day, even after the temple is closed. This is what is seen till day today, and this is Karmanghat, as the Karmanka Ghat, Karmanghat temple. And do what your mind says is the meaning of Karmanghat. Do what you say by the mind means do the deeds which are very thoughtful from you and bring it to reality and achieve the goals in the Purushartha, the lifetime. That is the real meaning of the word if you go into the depth of the philosophy. Karm ka man ka ghat. Kar man ka ghat in the right way. Do the mind, from the mind, do the right deeds, put it into karma, action to achieve the phal. Karmanghat Hanuman temple in Telangana district in Hyderabad, Dhyana Anjaneya temple here we have associated with this sloka, where we have Sita mounting the tip of the elephant and brought by her husband, and Padyavastita tathastau narashardhulo dipyamano swatejasa ततस्तस्य नखस्याग्रे आकाशास्तस्य धन्तिनः भर्त्रा परिगृहीतस्य जानकी skandhamasrita. So along with her husband, seated on the tip of the elephant back and taken through the skies, in front of that mountain, Sita, we see beautifully with Shweta Mala Bharavrita, with all the white garlands, pure white garlands on her neck. Coming to the Rama Rama Rama, coming to the next sloka here, we have again the 15th sloka from the same Sarga, 27th Sarga, continuation. All these are the continuation of the Sopna of Trijada, the long dream of Trijada, which came into reality ultimately in Ramayana. Bhartrusangasamutpatya tatah kamalalochana chandra suryau maya drishta panina parimarjati. Bhartrusangasamutpatya tatah kamalalochana chandra suryau maya drishta panina parimarjati. Thereafter, it has been seen by me, that is Trijada, that Sita with eyes like lotuses, Kamala Lochana, Kamala is lotus, Abja, Kamala is all lotus, the synonyms of lotus, and has risen up from the lap of her husband. Bhartru Sangha Samutpatya, Bhartru Sangha Samutpatya, Bhatrangat Samutpatya, from the lap of her husband, and gently touched the moon and the sun. Chandra Suryo Maya Drishta. I saw her touching the moon and the sun. Panina Parimarjati. Bhartru Sangat Samutpatya. Tathak Kamalalochana. Chandra Suryo Maya Drishta. Panina Parimarjati. Bhartru Anga Samutpatya. It is Bhartru Anga Samutpatya, the lap of her husband. Bhatru Anga Samutpatya Tathak Kamala Lochana, lotus side, Kamala Lochana, Chandra Suryo Maya Drishta, Panina Parimarjati. Here we have the temple associated with this particular sloka, the Tadband Hanuman temple, again in Hyderabad, Telangana district. Tadband Hanuman temple in Hyderabad, Telangana district. Here, it's a very significant temple here. If anyone gets a chance to go there, it will be really wonderful to have a view of this particular idol, where it is the Swayambhu Anjaneya. It is a Swayambhu Anjaneya temple. And Anjaneya, it is not only Anjaneya, in a single rock, Swayambhu, you have one side of Ganapati and the other side you have Anjaneya. Both, that is the Adi and the Antam, the starting, the Lord Ganesha, and the end, Antam, Anjaneya, which is a Swayambhu temple in a single rock in Tadband Hanuman temple in Telangana district in Hyderabad, which is really, really something very miraculous and which is very rare to see, where you have Hanuman, Ganesha and Hanuman in the same idol, both sides, right and left, and as Swayambhu, not sculptured by anybody, as itself coming up. That is what is known as Swayambhu in a single rock. Tadband Hanuman temple, Telangana district, Hyderabad, having Swayambhu Anjaneya here with Ganesha in a single rock. So we saw already today where we have various, as I mentioned, various postures, yogic postures, and different various forms of Anjaneya, from the Abhayahastanjaneya, from the Yoga Anjaneya, Abhayahastanjaneya, then we had the Dhyana Anjaneya, and then here we have the Swayambhu Anjaneya. All Anjaneyas in different forms, where they have depicted and displayed various attributes in a person. Rama 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 Rama. Bhartru Anga Samutpatya Tathak Kamalalochana Chandra Suryo Maya Drishta Panina Parimarjati. Rama Rama Rama. Next slide, where we have the next sloka, again the 16th sloka from the same sarga, where Trijata's Swapna is continuing. Tatastabhyam kumarabhyam astitah sagajottamah Sitaya cha visalakshya Lankaya uparistitah. Tatastabhyam kumarabhyam astitah gajottamah Sitaya cha visalakshya Lankaya uparistitah. Tatastabhyam kumarabhyam astitah gajottamah Sitaya cha visalakshya Lankaya uparistitaha. Thereafter, that best elephant, ascended by those Princes Rama and Lakshmana and by Sita, with wide eyes, Visalaksha, wide eyes, Vishala Aksha, Aksha is eyes. Lanka stood on the top of Lanka. Lankaya Uparistitaha. Uparistitaha is sitting on the top, stood on the top of Lanka. Gajottamaha, mounted on the Gajottamaha, the divine elephant, mounted on the elephant. Kumarabhyam astitaha, along with Rama and Lakshmana, the Kumaras. Tatastabhyam, thereafter, ascended by this in the elephant. Visalaksha Sita stood on the top of Lanka. Tatastabhyam Kumarabhyam astitaha Sagajottamaham Sitaya cha Visalaksha Lankaya uparistitah tatastabhyam kumarabhyam astitah sagajottamah Sitaya cha Visalakshya Lankaya uparistitah. Rama Rama, we have the temple associated with this particular slide and sloka, which is a very powerful, different Anjaneya again. Yantrodharaka Hanuman temple. You can see it is in the form of a yantra, drawn as a yantra. When we draw it in Tagdu, they say in Tagdu and all, like a raksha, which we put on our neck and other things. The same way in the rock, it is drawn rather than an idol, it is drawn in the as an yantra form. You can see the hexagonal yantra form here, and this has been there in the Hampi, Bellary district of Karnataka. Hampi, which is the birthplace, incidentally, of Anjaneya, Hampi in Karnataka. And here you have this Yantrodharaka Anjaneya, which the drawing has been done by Vyasaraya, the Madhva Parampara, in the Madhva Parampara. And this is very significant a place where it is mentioned that Rama met Hanuman for the first time here in a hill called the Malavyavana hill here in this particular area where Rama met Hanuman for the first time in Hampi. And Vyasaraya is none other than the incarnation, earlier incarnation of Raghavendra Swami, and in the Madhva Parampara. And this particular deity is known as Pranadeva temple. Pranadeva, he is known as the Pranadeva. He gave the prana, Lakshmana Pranadhatre, Namo Namaha. Anjaneya is known as Lakshmana Pranadhatre, giving life to Lakshmana when he fell unconscious with the Nagastra of Indrajit, bringing in the Sanjeevani Bhuti and giving him. So Lakshmana Pranadhatre Namo Namaha, Pranadevaya Namo Namaha, Anjaneya Murte Namo Namaha, Vanarottama Namo Namaha. So he is the Yantrodharaka Hanuman temple. He is the Yantrodharaka who is drawn by Vyasaraya, the earlier incarnation of Raghavendra Swami, in Hampi, Bellary district, Karnataka. ततस्ताभ्यां कुमाराभ्यामस्थितः स गजोत्तमः सीताया च विशालाक्ष्या लंकाया उपरि स्थितः. Rama Rama Rama. We have the next sloka. Again, the continuation of Krijada Swapna, the 20th sloka of the 27th sarga. Evam swapne maya drushto Ramo Vishnu Parakramaha Lakshmanena saha bhrata Sitaya saha Raghavaha. Evam swapne maya drushto Ramo Vishnu Parakramaha Lakshmanena saha bhrata Sitaya saha Raghavaha. Evam swapne maya drushto. I likewise, like this, I saw my swapna, the dream, where Rama, who is Vishnu equivalent, Vishnu Parakramaha, equivalent to Vishnu in his Parakrama, the valor, Lakshmanena Sahabrata, along with Brata, the brother Lakshmana, Sitaya Saharagava, Sita also along with Rama. I saw all the three of them together like this in my dreams. This was the dream session given, depicted and given by, mentioned by Trijada to all the Rakshasis surrounding Sita and instructing them not to harm Sita and telling them the importance of Rama and Lakshmana and the valor in them and the purity in them, and how Sita is so divine in herself as Jagannatha, and not to harm her, and just because you are demons and you are guarding her through the instructions of Ravana, just guard her, not harm her. This is what Trijada had said. The pious demoness who was in her earlier incarnation a very good soul, and later in her incarnation, many texts mention that she was born as Subhadra, as Krishna's sister. But of course, it has not been fully authenticated. It has been mentioned in many later texts in such a way. Rama, 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 Rama. Here, today we have seen how the thought process, the day is more important to indicate the thought process and presence of mind, and to how to bring in Karma Yoga through our actions and bring the dreams to reality, which Anjaneya Swami has displayed here very clearly through Valmiki Ramayana, the great saint Valmiki, who has given us this immeasurable treasure to cherish with for our days to come. Rama, 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 Rama. Yes. And then we come to the temple associated with this particular sloka, which is the Tulasigiri Sri Hanuman temple in Bagalkot Taluk, Bagalkot district, Karnataka. Bagalkot is very famous nowadays with cement factories. We know Bagalkot cements. People are more, the modern people are more in the corporate world, knowing this, that Bagalkot is the place where you have the cement factories. The same area we have Tulasigiri Sri Hanuman temple, which is a very old temple, very powerful temple today, where people of different corporate worlds and corporate lives come there to do their prayers in a very powerful Anjaneya being there and blessing all of us in Tulasigiri Sri Hanuman temple in the Bagalkot district. Get a chance to go there and take the showering of blessings from Anjaneya. Rama, 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 Rama. एवं स्वप्ने मया दृष्टो रामो विष्णुपराक्रमः लक्ष्मणेन सह भ्राता सीताया सह राघवः. With this, we complete the session of Trichada Swapna and bring the Swapnas to reality to achieve all our success in our life. Rama, 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 Rama.
Thank you, Sivakumar sir.
Thank you, one and all.
We will play a rendition by
Yes.
Radhika Rajesh.
Yes.
Please kindly enjoy.
प्रभु रामचंद्र के दूता हनुमंता आंजनेय, प्रभु रामचंद्र के दूता हनुमंता आंजनेय, हनुमंता 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 आंजनेय, हनुमंता 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 आंजनेय, हे पवन पुत्र हनुमंता बल भीमा आंजनेय, हे पवन पुत्र हनुमंता बल भीमा आंजनेय, बल भीमा बल भीमा बल भीमा आंजनेय, बल भीमा बल भीमा बल भीमा आंजनेय। प्रभु रामचंद्र के दूता हनुमंता आंजनेय, हनुमंता 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 आंजनेय, हे पवन पुत्र हनुमंता बल भीमा आंजनेय, बल भीमा बल भीमा बल भीमा आंजनेय, बल भीमा बल भीमा बल भीमा आंजनेय, प्रभु रामचंद्र के दूता हनुमंता आंजनेय.
Thank you.
Thank you all for attending session, day 2 session of Sundarakandam. I will go ahead and stop the recording. Sivakumar sir.
Okay, man. Thank you.
Okay. Any questions? Please, you may ask Shivakumar sir.